Welcome to those that are joining us. It's great to have you with us, and good evening to everyone out there who's watching this. I'm Bret Wagner. I'm a candidate for MMSD School Board Seat 3. Just wanted to thank you for joining our first virtual town hall in our series. We're talking about building stronger communities, and tonight we're focusing on one of the key pillars of my campaign's platform, which is excellence through equity, and what it means and how we achieve it by creating schools where everyone belongs. Just like to establish a couple of guidelines or suggestions about tonight's town hall and how you can participate. Please use the raise hand feature to ask a question. You can also type your questions in the chat at any time if you're not in a place that's convenient to come off a mute and ask those questions. You can use the reactions to show agreement or support. Those are at the very bottom on Teams, and you'll see a smiley face, so you can add your reactions there. Welcome you to, or invite you to come on video if possible. It really helps build community. I think these types of calls, we want them to be interactive, and it works better when we can see each other. Please remain on mute though, unless you have a question or comment. That way the audio stays nice and clean. Again, unless you have a question or a comment, then please come off a mute. Please use the polling feature when prompted. We will have a handful of polls set up. And then stay for an informal Q&A after the formal presentation. The Q&A will be at the end, and then we'll have a brief closing and call to action. Please feel free to leave at any time. We know you're busy. You can re-enter the town hall as well if you end up getting kicked out or have to leave to go eat, take a phone call, or pick up the kids. So as far as guidelines for discussion, we're here to focus on solutions, not just challenges, but we do want to hear some of the challenges and frustrations. We just want to try to keep it solution-oriented in general. Please share your experiences, be specific in your questions, respect everyone's perspective, and keep comments brief so that we're allowing time for others. So let me start with who I am. I'm an engineer by training. I'm a former high school science teacher, and most importantly, I'm a dad to 2 MMSD students. I currently serve as the Cherokee Heights Middle School PFO president. We've seen firsthand there how building strong school communities really transforms outcomes, and I'll talk more about what some of those outcomes are later in tonight's talk. My background, engineering, working with health systems, leading large complex projects, as well as my experience teaching, it gives me that unique perspective where I'm able to understand both the data-driven and the human side of education. So why am I running? Our schools work best when every student has the support that they need, when we let teachers do what they do best, and when we use real data to make smart choices. That's why I'm running, because getting these basics right matters for every kid in Madison. And my core 3 priorities reflect this: excellence through equity, trusting teachers as professionals, and making data-driven decisions. These aren't just buzzwords. They're principles I've seen work in practice. There's a lot to dissect in each, and throughout this series, I'll be talking a bit more in depth and invite you all to participate in the discussion as we delve into the details on each of these 3 core priorities. But tonight, we're focused on belonging and the power of belonging in our community. One question consistently predicts student success better than any other metric. That question is there an adult at school who knows you well? When students answer yes, things improve. and overall community is stronger. And at Cherokee Heights, we've seen attendance rise above 90%. We've seen behavior incidents plummet and student engagement soar. And this isn't just anecdotal. Research shows, this is research, external research to the district, shows students with strong adult connections are 3 times more likely to achieve their academic goals, 78% less likely to experience mental health challenges. A pretty compelling data there. I wanted to share a personal story about the power of belonging. I had, a rough middle school. I was kind of a science nerd, and being a science nerd, you're not, the most popular in school. In high school, I had a teacher named Roger Rumpy who transformed his chemistry classroom into Himraj Incorporated. This was a simulated research company where students became scientists. And being really into science wasn't exactly a ticket to popularity, but Mr. Rumpy created a cool space. Like, it was cool to be in Mr. Rumpy's chemistry classroom. And curiosity there, it wasn't just accepted, it was expected, as well as, high performance. Clearly, Mr. Rumpy had very high expectations for all of his students. He didn't just teach chemistry, though. He showed how every student belonged and could succeed. And his influence is why I became an engineer. I went on to earn my degree in chemical engineering from the University of Wisconsin. I worked for a period of time in the energy industry. I became a high school physics and chemistry teacher. Now I work in technology, doing large, complex digital and financial transformation work for health systems. But I recognize that our school board needs strong leadership, and I would like to bring this perspective, experience, and skill set to the board. So just a quick case study in success. At Cherokee Heights, and again, I'm speaking from experience, my oldest son is an 8th grader there. I've been the PFO president for about 1.5 years, but have been very active throughout the 3 years that our son has been there. At Cherokee Heights, school leaders and teachers put these principles into action. And attendance is now above 90% across all grades. Number 2, behavior incidents have dropped dramatically, numbering in the hundreds of referrals and hundreds of fights annually to just under 26 suspensions and 19 physical altercations this year. So pretty drastic reduction. This isn't just magic, though. It's the result of intentional work, creating a culture where everyone feels like they belong. And the school leaders there who are leading in implementing restorative practices, focusing on reflection rather than punishment, it's transformed our school climate. And I'm really proud of the work that the school leaders are doing, continue to do, as well as the teachers and staff at Cherokee Heights. To just share a bit more about mental health and broader belonging in the district, MMSD's 5 to Thrive framework provides a foundation for building belonging. So I'll just briefly break down each element. There are 5 of them. Learning. It begins with student well-being. It can be challenging to learn when your mind and body are struggling. And the district is constantly striving to teach students coping strategies, time management skills, and a range of other tools to really help them focus on their learning journeys. Number two, caring. Caring means supporting everyone. No problem too small or crisis too big. MMSD has a team of highly qualified team members available to listen, to learn, to understand unique experiences. And they work to create spaces where everyone feels valued and understood. Number three, belonging. It's more than just being a part of a school. It means feeling safe, feeling supported and accepted. This allows the brain to access the joy of learning. And the staff is learning strategies to build even more genuine connections with students. So they always have someone in the building who understands their experience and is there to provide support. Number four, connecting, and this commitment to promoting mental health and well-being, extending beyond school buildings, providing mental health services to the school, connecting with professionals in the community, and really having a team-based approach centered around the strengths of the local mental health and support resources throughout the community. And then finally, thriving. And thriving is moving beyond surviving. So survival to success to thriving or significance is really that path that we all follow. We're supporting students in the district as they learn to cope with challenges and advocate for their own well-being. This looks different for everyone, right? And we believe that every student can learn, can grow, and achieve their goals. So I'm calling this out here because this is the bedrock. This is the foundation. This is a relatively new program. As a board member, I would continue to drive on this program being the bedrock, but also have those conversations taking place with the students in the classrooms, having those conversations lead to meaningful conversations at home, and really helping the entire community, from students to family members and parents to staff, being able to have those conversations carry out throughout the community and track using metrics that we're agreeing upon to really measure how students are feeling in their sense of belonging based on these principles and these activities. So let's talk about translating from the school classroom to the school board room. So belonging, building belonging, it's not just a classroom issue, it's a systems issue. And as a board member, I'll focus on a number of things. First, ensuring every student is known by name, by need, and strength. Giving teachers time and support to build relationships. Using data to identify and support struggling students earlier in their time in school. And creating meaningful family engagement opportunities. Cherokee Heights, just pulling that example in once more, we've seen how this comprehensive approach creates positive change. And I think it's time to scale these successes district-wide. We know there are school communities who are struggling with this. And it's my intention to make sure that the policies, the procedures, and the conversations happening at that board level are carrying through and supporting the work that needs to happen in the schools and the classrooms. Let's talk about some solutions for challenges. What are those actions that we can take right now? I'm in support of a universal breakfast program, no cost, so that students when they go to school, this is the first thing that they have offered to them is a healthy, nutritious breakfast. It's a social experience, and it's a jumpstart to their day. You can't learn if you're hungry. I know that there are a number of programs in place right now. Breakfast is offered at most, if not all schools. It's not always free. It's not always accessed. It's not always as nutritious as we would probably like. And we're going to refocus time and energy on making it universally no cost to those students. Why breakfast? Because it's the start of the day. If it works and that we're seeing outcomes, particularly the first half of the day, and improve student focus, improve student academics, and student behavior, we can certainly extend this to other times of the day, like lunch or afternoon snacks. Second, expanded mental health support. This is critical for student success, wrapping it around the students, extending it out to their families, offering it to staff, as well as to teachers. And also on that teacher support system. So reducing administrative burden. We know that hours are spent every week on administration. Some of that is important. Some of it is regulated and thus absolutely essential. Some of it is important, to prepare for lesson planning and actually perform lesson planning. I would argue that's not really administrative, that's more instructional. What I'm talking about is those administrative things that may have been determined at the district level, maybe a program that isn't serving its purpose. We need to take a hard look and figure out ways to reduce that burden on teachers. And then finally, clear accountability metrics. So measuring what matters and being really clear, what are the small number of key performance indicators. That's fancy speak for, what's in my bank account. How much did I spend last month on groceries? What is the temperature in my house right now? Think of those as kind of like super critical measures or metrics. KPIs are that, but translated to the business of what we are doing, running a large enterprise, but also teaching the next generation. So we need to get clear on what those are and then measure those consistently and report back. These aren't just ideas, they're proven strategies with clear implementation paths. And I promise to really focus on what that implementation path looks like and support those who are performing that work, who are tasked with implementing in the district. All right, we're going to save these. I'm just taking a look here at participation. We're going to save these for the next time. But what I'd like you to noodle on, oh, sorry. Yikes. Let me get back here. So 3 questions, so 3 polls here. Trusted adults. Does your child have an adult they trust at school? So you could ask them that. Belonging. How welcome does your child feel at school? And then how welcome do you feel at your child's school? Because we know that it really starts with family, a family sense of belonging. And then finally, where should we focus most urgently? Where should we focus first? Maybe mental health support, academic support, family engagement, teacher support. Those are some options. So next time I'll take a few moments to allow participants to respond. We'll discuss what these results tell us should be a great interactive experience there. Also, would like to talk a bit about these topics: school security and restorative justice, teacher empowerment and family engagement. These are areas where I'm hearing a lot of different questions and concerns as I speak with voters, with teachers, with staff in the district and our leaders. I want to address the first one here because it is, top of mind with the tragic events in December. The core position on school security, and I've shared this with a handful of folks, but I'm sharing it broadly here. This is really about data, and the data shows two critical things. So first, when we had SROs, these are school resource officers, there were clear racial disparities in enforcement. And second, we still have hundreds of police calls to our schools last year without SROs. So I think instead of debating SROs, yes, no, we need to look at what's actually working in schools that have successfully reduced both violence and racial disparities in discipline. So we're going to lead with the data. If I'm on the board, focus on the number of police calls, reporting that, the racial disparity data. We're going to understand both sides' concerns and those who are in between. I know there are a lot of in-betweeners out there who aren't sure. Frame this really as a complex issue and implement a careful analysis. And I think let's just not forget that this connects into what we've been talking about already, which is mental health and the support services part of the platform. A lot of that work is already happening, just making it more visible and investing further to carry that further. The preventative measures that are out there and really supporting teachers and training teachers. So again, I don't think the question is whether or not to have SROs. I think the real question is, how do we create schools where every student feels safe and supported? And that requires looking at the whole picture: the mental health resources, the relationship building programs, the behavioral support systems. And those are largely invisible. And I would point out that, yes, there is some need, there is some place for those visible security measures as well, right? Like we have a lock on our doors at home. Many of us have security cameras at home. You press on the doorbell, up pops that person's face. Some of us subscribe to like security services. There are common sense things, just good common sense things that could be done efficiently, effectively. Many of them are already in place. So let's continue to invest in some of these less visible things like mental health resources, relationship building programs, and behavioral support systems. Another thing I continue to hear about is teacher empowerment, the whole teachers as trusted professionals point that I've been making throughout my campaign. The district states these priorities: to retain and attract high quality staff, to sustain and expand essential programs like 4K, early literacy, multilingual education, and middle school career exploration, and to transform the next round of schools that are in need of replacement or renovation, to transform those schools into modern, flexible learning spaces. I support all of that. I am the candidate who will make sure that these things are being carried through effectively, cost effectively, efficiently, make it transparent and accountable to the community. All right. We'll touch more on family engagement next week. I just wanted to share a couple final things here, how to get involved. Your engagement doesn't have to end after watching this video. Here's how you can stay involved. Join our future town halls every Tuesday, 7 p.m. for an hour. We'll discuss next week supporting every student and how to do so. We'll dive into a little bit more detail on what truly creates belonging, talking about consistent adult connections, about inclusive school climate, about early support systems. So looking forward to that. There are volunteer opportunities. These include door knocking and phone banking. So would ask that you sign up for our newsletter at bretwagner.com. We'll be sending out calls through that channel, but also there's a place at bretwagner.com/volunteer where you can fill out a form and let our campaign know that you'd like to participate. You can follow us on social media for regular updates. We try to push out at least a few times per week. You're also welcome to host a coffee chat with your neighbors. If you're getting a group together and I have some availability, I would love to participate, but don't think that I need to be there to have a conversation about schools and education in our community for it to be effective. Hopefully this has planted some seeds, might serve as a catalyst for you and your neighbors to discuss. And just remember that every voice matters in this conversation about our school's future. So a lot more to come. We are focused with our campaign around three things: belonging. We're going to talk about breakfast before math, getting that universal no-cost meal in before starting the school day. Continue to support our teachers and other strategies that help build belonging. We're going to be talking about budget. It's a large, complex gorilla, but we are going to break it down. Hopefully it will seem a little bit less intimidating. We'll talk about capital budget. We'll talk about operating budget. We'll talk about where revenue in the for-profit business world income comes from and expenses going out the door. That's universal, nonprofit, education, for-profit. But we'll dive into that. Hopefully you'll walk away with a better understanding, clear picture of how education budgets work. And then the third, building the physical schools, building for the future, and innovating and building a workforce for tomorrow. All right. I just want to say thank you for tuning in. Remember that strong schools are built on belonging, whether you're a student that's struggling to find your place, whether you're a teacher working to reach every child, or a parent trying to support your student's journey. You belong here in Madison schools. So let's work together to build schools where every student can thrive. I encourage you to visit bretwagner.com to learn more and get involved. Next week's town hall will focus on supporting every student, mental health, and well-being. I hope to see you there. Thank you. Good night.